This is the Honest Playbook. This is episode 2. We're going to cover money mistakes we made in our 20s. If you haven't heard the first episode, go back, check that one out. This is episode 2. We're going to talk about Jason's side of the story. You might have already heard mine. These are the mistakes we made and how it made us who we are.
We don't know it all, but here's what we know.
This might look a little different from the first one. So if you saw the first one, it was a little bit different. This format's going to be a little nicer, much more production time. But we wanted to make sure we showcase what we can do. I'm in Wichita. It's my first time here. We're in Podcast Solutions, and we're checking everything out. This is a beautiful studio. You guys can see. It's gorgeous. And Jason, he's a big reason why I'm here. And also, we're sitting at a nice table. This is a table that Jason's company makes. It's Podcast Table Shop, and they do it all. And so if you haven't checked those out, please check those out. But Jason, today's the day. You heard my side, all the mistakes I made. You made me sound great. I went back and listened to it. It was good, but I don't think I think I messed up. But it's not about me today.
That's funny.
About you.
Okay.
So tell me something. Tell me first. Let's start here. We're in the studio.
Sure.
This is gorgeous, man. I love it.
Thank you.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you for visiting.
No. Thank you for having me.
Sure.
I'm
it's
proud
a long
of
way.
seeing all of this that you're doing. And the tables, very impressive. I got to tour the shop today, and I really enjoy it. So, but this wasn't always the case.
Right.
So there was always there's times, mistakes that you've made. So I'm gonna hand this over to you. Now it's on you. Tell us. Think about your 20s.
Yeah.
Don't think about 40-some-year-old you, where you're at, what you've done, everything that you've done. Tell me, where were you in your 20s? We talked about mine. What do you see yourself? Did you see yourself here? And kind of what got you here?
I certainly didn't see myself here, no. And so we can only cover the decade, right? Because it's in my 20s. Biggest mistakes I made in my 20s, I think the way to think about that. So did I see myself here? No way. Where was I then? And what were the things that I saw that I certainly wasn't thinking about the future? Well, I think I have to kind of backtrack my story because you talked a little bit about your story and how you grew up, but I grew up in a single home, or excuse me, a single parent home. At one point, my parents were both there. It's like we had a house, we had cars, we had furniture, I had food. It didn't really feel like things were too terribly crazy. But then my parents divorced, and so then all of a sudden, it's just my mom and it's me. My brother went to the Navy. My sister moved out and was married. So all of a sudden I'm there and it's just me and my mom. And I think that's about the time that I kind of realized when I was a kid, it was like, no, you can't have those jeans because we can't afford them kind of thing. And so all of a sudden it's like, oh, there's things we can't have. There's things we don't have. So I grew up, with that. So about the time that I was old enough to work, I took my ass to work because I wanted to have things. And so I think that kind of laid the foundation for where my mentality was when it came to having a job and having an income and then having to manage that money. So because I went without in a lot of different ways, and it's like I'm in school and I'm concerned about what people think and I'm concerned with how I dress and people make fun of your clothes and shit. I remember when I was in 6th grade, we would go to the flea market and they had those booths where they had just a whole bunch of t-shirts, it was 3 for $20.
Sure.
And so I remember when we could afford a 3 for $20 or 3 for $10, my mom was like, go ahead and pick out 3 shirts. I'm like, oh shit. So I got this Flintstone shirt and it was Fred Flintstone and Barney on the front. And I thought it was the coolest thing. And I guess I liked purple. My mom said I liked purple. So I would have a purple t-shirt. She would dress me like that,
Yeah.
So I remember being in school and, some kid making fun of me with my Fred Flintstone shirt. This was the last time I ever wore it. So all of a sudden I'm realizing oh, people care how I look and I don't look how I'd like to look and I can't wear the pants and the clothes that other people wear. So it was very like that. So when I met you, 1996, so this is actually 2026. So 30 years,
30
bro.
years, yes,
long
that's right.
time now. So when I met you, we're in our teens and it's you're fucking wearing Tommy Hilfiger and, what kind of jeans did we wear?
Jinko.
We wore Jinko. Yeah, there was some.
Polo,
did you wear
the
Silver
Hilfiger.
Tab and some of that stuff?
The Levi's has been around for a long time.
Levi's, yeah. So it all of a sudden was well, here's how we're gonna dress and we're gonna go out and look good and that kind of stuff. So I kind of had to back up to lay that foundation because when I got my first jobs, our first job we worked summer at Luther's Barbecue, And I remember I made like $470 that month, and I spent $470 on clothes.
Priorities.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
I'm just saying. So like my first paycheck ever, now I'm spending on clothes. So obviously that it's like, now I have money. What am I going to do?
Sure.
I'm going to do the thing that I couldn't do when I was younger. And so there's this thing ingrained in me. So as I start working, like I worked at a restaurant, high school, senior year, like I missed out on a bunch of stuff, but I had money in my pocket. And then I bought a car, and I'm able to go out. We're going out to eat, dressing how I want to dress, car. So that continued into my 20s.
Okay.
Yeah. So
right,
that's the idea there is I was very, very, what's the word? I would just spend on whatever I wanted. And there was no thought about saving. There was no thought about investing. It was like cars, clothes, and food. Right.
So that's great. That's great background. I think, I think it's important. I know this is about our 20s, and but I think it's important to lay down that foundation for the audience as they're listening to the episode.
Sure.
Because I think it's going to tie into maybe what happened in your 20s, right?
Yeah.
So now that we know kind of how you grew up, single mom, home for the most part, obviously struggling with the income. Single income's always tough in most homes, especially where we came from. So now tell me, how did all of that kind of shape the ideas in how you saw money and your relationship with money once you kind of got into your 20s? Once we got out of high school, right? Now, got out of high school 2000, so you're about 18, 19. So tell me, kind of start in that area. Going into your 20s, how did all that background that you have and the doing without and having to work at such a young age to just get some basic staples, how did that kind of propel you into your 20s?
Yeah. So when I talk about money mistakes, so number one, I have an income. And so once you have an income, you want to make more money, more money, more money.
Sure.
Well, we get to college, and now all of a sudden I have credit cards. That's why I had to go back to my teens. I got a credit card when I was 18. So as I'm moving into my 20s, I'm making money, but now I'm carrying debt.
Okay.
And so that mentality just was exponential, that I have money coming in, and then I have money I can swipe, or, a credit card that I can swipe. So I just bought whatever I wanted, and I went where I wanted, and I did what I wanted, And so when you talked about like, hey, thinking back and looking on my life, what I was doing, you were like, oh, I'm at home. I got, I've got this house, I've got this stuff, but you're out there doing what you want to do. And like, you're going here and doing this and hanging out with these people and having a good time and having and partying. It's what I did.
Sure.
And that's how I spent my money. It's the only way that I spent my money. And so all of a sudden it turns into, I've got bills. And so the bills are coming. So I'm just trying to make money. I'm waiting tables, feeling like I'm making pretty decent money waiting tables. I'd go $100, $200 a night. Like, you got cash in your pocket. So it's like, we just made some money. Where we're going. So it was, as soon as it came, it was gone, or half of it was gone. I remember, I worked at a restaurant, P.F. Chang's.
Okay.
A lot of people don't know that I did work at P.F. Chang's for like almost a year. And my biggest night there, I think I made $240 or something like that. So we all went out. I had $240 cash in my pocket. I bought like a $80 bottle of wine at a restaurant I went to. I was like, I'm going to buy a nice bottle of wine. So like almost a third of my income from that evening just gone in one moment. So that's how I lived. And I would get to the point to where if I was going to go out and go do something, even though I had clothes at home, I'd like stop off at Ross and go buy a new t-shirt. Or it's like when I started college, 22, 23, like when I was going to Art Institute of Houston, it was on the way to where there was a Ross but for me to get there, and I would stop off and almost buy a t-shirt like every single day for like $10, $12.
Hey, okay.
So, I mean, that was it, bro. I mean, that's what I was doing.
Okay. I mean, I'm going to make the assumption you were looking pretty fly every day, though. I mean,
I hope so. I mean, I wasn't wearing Flintstone shirts anymore.
Were they still purple, though?
Nah, I got away from the purple shirts, too.
Okay. You didn't like the purple no more, man.
No, just gray.
Yeah, they bullied you out of the purple. I don't know. Maybe we can bring it back. I don't. We'll take a vote from everybody. I don't know.
But
if
I do drink that pink slush, though.
Hey, that's some sweet stuff he's got there. I'm not gonna lie.
It's good.
All right. So let me. I kind of knew a little bit about that.
Sure.
I didn't know. I mean, the details.
Right.
stopping at the store.
Oh yeah, bro.
You sound like a rich person. I mean, because if you would have, 40-something-year-old me doesn't think that, right? But I think if you would have came to me and said, hey, you know what? I stop at Ross every day and buy a shirt, I'd have been like, damn, okay, you got it like that. Because I'm going to be honest, I don't, I mean, even if I was doing okay, I don't think I could stop and buy new clothes anytime I felt like it. I don't even think to this day I go to events and be like, I'm going to go get a new outfit just for the specific event. So that to me sounds like, now, let me ask you this. Was that for you? Or was that to impress other people?
I think it was for me to feel confident.
Okay.
But then also, yeah, being a young guy, it's like, you're trying to impress the honeys, right? Like you're trying to look good and look clean and all that stuff. And so, yeah, it was like there was an element of loneliness that goes all the way back to like, being at home by myself and trying to navigate the world by myself. It's like I had my mom, and then I didn't have my siblings anymore. So it's like, who did I have? Well, I had my friends. Excuse me. So I'm always trying to be in the friend groups and be accepted by the friend groups. And then, once you get to a certain age, now it's like, oh, girls. So then you're trying to get the girls, And, you and I, we were out there trying to get the girls. And so
yes.
I didn't really have a real girlfriend until into my 20s. But it was me trying to fit in, trying to, find my people, find a group, have a good time, maybe find a girlfriend. I mean, I really had no other direction, so whatever was going on at that time is like, I'm trying to fill the void with a relationship, and I'm using money as a tool to put me into these spaces where that would be an opportunity. So it's like all the drinking, all the partying, all that stuff, spending my money on those things, putting me in those environments where there was a potential that I would end up in a relationship where I felt loved and accepted and wanted,
All right, let me stop you there. I mean, that's great stuff.
Is it okay that this is going this way?
Hey, this is your episode.
Yeah.
It's not mine. It's you take it where you want to go. I'm just
yeah.
here to see what we can get out of it. But I'll touch it. For anyone who's listening to this today and watching the video, Jason came to me and said, hey, let's do a podcast. And his first thing was, let's talk about money and finances. And I said, that was great. And then you told me, hey, let's talk about this stuff.
Sure.
But my suggestion to Jason was always, hey, money is really just a kind of precursor to everything in life. And if you're listening, and this, I think this proves my point.
Sure.
I think when we first talked, we were trying to figure out what we're going to do, what we're going to talk about. But I told you, money touches every aspect of things. And it hurts a little bit to hear that you were in your 20s, you were out there buying the shirts and buying the clothing, working, not to kind of get enjoyment, but to feel more, involved in the community or part of something bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
And you said, I think these are your words, trying to fill a void.
Right.
Which to me, as your friend, I'm kind of like, man, you must have been hurting.
Sure.
To a certain point,
yeah, 100%, right? Yeah.
And I think in the last episode, we kind of touched on, I looked at you and envied you.
Sure.
But listening to your story, which I have never heard this, so this is different for me. For me to hear this, it's kind of like, oh, yes, it's a little bit like, wow, okay, this man was hurting.
Yeah.
And as your friend, I feel bad because I'm like, I never asked you.
Sure.
Were you okay? I don't think we asked. I think
we didn't ask. I don't think we knew to ask the questions back then.
We didn't. I didn't even know to ask now. So
Sure. Yeah.
But and I think this month's supposed to be men's mental health awareness and so forth. And so I posted about it. And I think one of our posts is ask your boys, are they okay? Mm-hmm. And I think that kind of touches back to saying, man, I didn't know to ask you if you're all right. And I think as men, we're not taught to number one, we're not taught to share feelings. I think men don't talk about their feelings to other men. I mean, how bad did you get into debt? Let's kind of touch back on the money piece. Like how much can you kind of tell us where you went?
It took me almost to the age of like 34 or 35 to get out of the debt that I accrued in my 20s that I didn't actually attack until like 2010, 2011.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So that was credit card debt that went into default. So here's a very specific scenario.
Okay.
So like you and I, we started a business together.
Yeah.
and it was a photography business basically. We don't have to get into details, another day. I'm pretty sure we went to Best Buy so that I could buy a new computer so that I could have a way to edit. I feel like that was us. I can't remember.
I don't think that was us.
I'm pretty sure I bought.
You may have bought one, but I don't think that was.
I can't remember if you and I went and did that or not.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I bought a computer at Best Buy, and I put it on a credit card. It's like $600.
Okay.
That credit card went to default. When I finally went to go pay it off, it was like $3,000.
Ouch.
So I had to pay that. So I had a $600 debt turn into a $3,000 debt. My first bank account, Washington Mutual, that one went negative, and then I just let it sit, and then eventually accrued enough to where it was like an $800 debt that chased me like all through my 20s till they finally sent me like a settlement. I was like, yeah, I'll pay that off for $300. Like, that's the biggest mistake that I made, was taking on these debts and then ignoring them and having credit cards and not really realizing the cost of paying them back, and then thinking that they would just go away and then them never going away. And so that was all through my 20s. Like, just, that's what I did. And I could never like dig myself out of it until I finally, had a decent head on my shoulders, I guess, enough to say, okay, we're going to attack the debt. We're finally going to look it in the face, and we're going to start to attack it. So it's credit cards. It was, some stuff in default. And then there was school loans. And so then I had, so the school loans chased me into my 30s. And it actually wasn't until like last year that one of those school loans went away, because the school where I had it, they were in a lawsuit, and for like some sort of malpractice or something like that. Not malpractice, but just, it just wasn't good. So the government was like, yeah, we're going to forgive those loans. So
how much did you end up?
It's like 18 grand. Wow. Yeah. And then I was like, I should have never paid it. Then it would all gone away. Right. So debt early on, not really realizing how much it's going to take. And then, not taking the debt seriously, just all through my 20s.
Oh man.
So the idea becomes, so when I'm thinking about money, it's like, how can I work harder? How can I make more money? And I've always done side jobs. So I've just always done side jobs.
Sure.
But then I also had an internship at a church where I'm doing graphic design, and I'm doing graphic design on the side. But then I'm also doing photography on the side. But then I'm also working with a photographer. And so I'm at home. I don't have rent. I got a car note. I got credit card debt. And then I got lots of eating out, lots of buying what I want. Sure. So that was just how I lived.
Okay, so now I know we talked last time, and we talked about assets and so forth. I mean, was there any consideration? Was that even a thought?
I didn't start thinking about buying a house until I was 28. And that was my effort to do that. Was I was going to go back to school and finish my marketing degree so that I could get a better job, a better paying job, so I could have more money. Okay. So it was always work harder, make more money. There was never any idea of be smart with the money you already have.
Okay.
I didn't have anybody in my life to help me with that.
Sure. So you think that kind of your early childhood and how you grew up shaped your views on money?
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Is that why you ran from the debt, excuse me?
I don't know why I ran from the debt.
Yeah. If you kind of look back, I mean,
I think I've always been pretty good at like out of sight, out of mind, or like compartmentalizing. So if I think about the debt, it's going to cause me stress and anxiety. So I'm just not going to think about the debt. I'm just going to do other things. I'm going to distract myself with fun and food. And
is that just a vicious cycle then?
It had been a vicious cycle, yes.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Yeah. Jose's like, what? I didn't know that about you.
I did. I did.
Let me give you a little bit of insight
into,
and I hope that we get to a point to where it's like, maybe I give a little bit of hope for somebody who's like, shit, I'm you, or I might be worse than you. What do I do? How do I, here's the problem. What's the solution? Because I can, we can go
Sure.
deeper into the problem, but I just want to make this point. So remember when I worked for the Houston Aeros, the hockey team? So I was getting steady income, I was making decent money, and then I had side jobs.
Okay.
So I had one job just pay me like an extra $800 a month, plus my paychecks, plus I was doing photography. And so, at some point I was bringing in what was good money for me, still living at home, like I said. And even though I had all that money coming in, there were weekends where I would pawn my laptop so that I could have money to go out on the weekend.
Okay.
And then I would work the next week and then get paid, and then I'd get my laptop out. And then I would have money, and then I'd spend the money going out. Then I wouldn't have money, then I'd pawn my laptop, and then I had money to go out. And it was just a crazy cycle. I might have done that 3 or 4 times, and then I finally was just like, okay, this is stupid. I got to stop.
Wow.
But all this money coming in, but all the money going out, just all the time, constantly in and out, in and out, in and out.
Mm-hmm. I didn't even know you could do that, but okay. Okay. All right. Well, okay. Let me.
So I had problems, to say the least. So like, I had issues.
This wasn't, but these weren't just financial problems then.
Oh no, not
Okay,
no,
okay.
no, no.
I mean,
it was all driven by
there's a little deeper,
something deeper,
there's
for
definitely
sure.
deeper stuff there. I mean, we don't get it. We won't get into those weeds. So that's probably something else. We can put that down for episode 24.
Another
25,
time,
something
yeah.
like
Hey,
that,
let's go back and really
let's go
dive
back
into that. Yeah.
But okay, so I mean, clearly, a lot of your childhood, maybe even just kind of your life, things going on in your life at the time, kind of shaped your views on money or the way you interacted and kind of used money. Clearly money wasn't being used to kind of fund your lifestyle. It was being used to either fund or fill, as you said, fill that void,
Sure.
whatever that void was, right?
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question, right? So this is kind of put a little thought. I don't want you to give me don't give me the first answer that comes to mind. Just kind of think about it a little bit. What was the real lesson that you can look back at now and say, here's my 20s, right? Just focus on that decade. What is the real lesson that you got from those 10 years that maybe shaped you into who you are today?
Man, that's a really good question.
Think about that for a second. I mean, just really kind of ponder it. While you think about it, kind of just look back and say, what are the mistakes I made? I mean, you clearly have voiced them. You've clearly saw. I mean, I know you've probably sat and looked back and thought, well, damn, why was I doing that? I mean, what did you think? What do you think you took from that?
I think I definitely learned that, I eventually learned that you can't just let debt go unattended. Mm-hmm. Like you really can't, because the longer it sits, the worse it gets.
Sure.
Right. And the answer isn't always make more money. The answer is have a plan for the money that you do have. And so when I look back at my life, I didn't know how to use my money wisely, because I didn't know how to use it wisely. There was no plan for my money other than I get it and I spend it on the things I want, and then I do it again, and then I do it again, then I do it again. And so I think that was the biggest thing, is if I'd have had a plan for my money, or if I'd have gone to somebody who was wise enough to help me, I could have said, hey, I've got all this debt. Seriously, I have all this debt, and it's overwhelming. And I've never looked it in the eyes before. I've never run the numbers to really get an idea of what's going on here. It's I would get the bill collection and I would just throw them away, because I knew it was I don't,
Yeah.
I'm just going to keep making minimum payments, or, oh, they want to settle for $400. I don't have $400 right now.
Sure.
That kind of thing. So, I didn't have a plan. I didn't know what to do. I mean, that's truly you want to talk about how I saw money when I was a kid and then a teenager and then into my 20s, is I really had no idea what it meant to be wise with your money and have a plan for your money.
Okay. So now if there's somebody listening to this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're in a similar or even worse place
Sure.
than you were.
Yeah.
What positive things can you tell them, or what piece of advice would you give them if they're listening right now?
Yeah, I mean, that's the tough one, right? Because you don't, you don't want to look the problem in the face. Like if you're anything like me, you try and avoid it, or you hope that things will just be different one day. Like that's truly what it is. You hope that one day you'll make enough to catch up or to feel caught up, or you'll have some big windfall where it's like, oh, if I, $10,000, oh, I could do this, I can do that. But it's just like, now you're just dreaming. It's like, you can't dream about 10K. You've got to be real and honest about the 2K that you have coming in next week, or the 1K, or whatever it is. So like, that's what I would say is like, just look the problem in the face. Like if you don't look the monster in the eyes, the monster's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, right? It's like those movies where it's like the monster, it's creepy. You're like, you don't know what it is. So you're like really scared. You're like, oh shit, what is it? What is it? And they finally show the monster. You're like, oh, okay. It's a 12-foot monster. Now I see it. Now we can address it. Now we can figure out how to kill it.
So
right?
Not knowing is worse than
not knowing is worse. Yeah. So look the debt in the eyes, write it down, figure it out, and just come up with a plan of attack. And you're going to have to, you can't change the scenario by doing the same thing that you've done over and over and over again. I just didn't have anybody to help me break the cycle. And it was obvious that I myself could not break the cycle.
All right. I've got a couple more questions before we kind of end this, right?
Sure.
So, and I want to see what you feel. If someone would have given you, let's say, $10,000 in your 20s, would it have solved your problems?
I don't think, it would have helped a lot. However,
Okay.
it's like it would have helped the debt, but it wouldn't have changed my mentality. Okay, right. You can't, if you gave me 10K and a plan, and then I had the will to work the plan, because you can have the money and the plan and still not do the thing, right? Sure. You got to do the thing. So you got to find a motivation. Like, what is the thing that's going to drive you to break that cycle? What do they say something about? It's like the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the pain of change.
Sure. Or you don't change until the pain of changing is less than the pain of staying.
That's the one, however that goes. Maybe I said it backwards, but sure. That's the thing, right? So you've got to find a motivation to actually do something different. You just like, you come to an end, you just got to get it fed up, and you're just like, okay, I'm fucking sick and tired of being in debt all the time. I'm sick and tired of not having enough money. And then you have to take an honest assessment. How are you spending your money? Where's that money going? Like, what are you actually doing with your money?
Sure. So is it fair for me to say, if I'm listening to you, right? If I'm an audience member here and I'm listening to you, is it fair to say, hey, the money isn't the problem. It's your view or your mentality toward money, right?
You're the problem. I'm going to look in the camera. Yeah. Most often, the problem is you. And that's not a bad thing, because you have the power to change and you have the power to do things different.
Sure.
Nobody's coming to save you, man. Like, truly. You can dream, and there are some people, they have, call it a blessing from God, or call it luck. Mm-hmm. And they'll have a large sum of money come their way, and it helps solve some of their problems. But again, it's the same thing as like winning the lottery. People who win the lottery are broke in 10 years again. So
sure.
Like, you really have to figure out, like, look yourself in the face and be like, why am I like this? And then really start to assess. And it's like, why do I want to buy all the stuff? Why do I want to have all these things? Why am I the kind of person that gets money and then it's gone immediately? Mm-hmm. And it's not going towards debt. It's not, the money's coming in, but I'm not solving the problem.
Sure.
Yeah. So there's like an avoidance factor there, I guess. I don't know.
All right. Well, hey, I appreciate the story. I've learned, it definitely wasn't as pretty as I thought it was, coming from my side of the view. Because I told you I envied you last time. I don't envy you now. I'm going to say I thought I envied your life, and clearly it was a lot more going on.
You might have envied the experiences, but you definitely didn't envy the cost.
I didn't know the cost.
Right.
I didn't know what you were going through.
And I always, like, I see people get new cars. I'm like, that's a nice car. I don't want the car note.
Sure. We can kind of do without now, right? You can do without some things now.
Sure.
Okay. Now, we'll wrap this up. I just want to get final statement.
Yeah.
Kind of, maybe pick a camera here and look right into the audience and say, hey, just kind of recap what you think, they should take out of what we said today.
Well, I don't know who's listening, obvious. Excuse me, but man, that's a tough one. What do I say? Like, just, I don't know. Don't do what I did. Like, I think that's the biggest thing. It's like, you cannot undo what's already been done. Like, you can regret it, but don't let regret cripple you from action forward. So like, look at the situation if it's bad and just like be like, okay, yeah, I fucked up. But don't stay there. Like, look forward and think about, you reverse engineer, like, who do I want to be? What do I want my money situation to look like? And yeah, we can all dream about like buying a house in Hawaii and retiring and, living it up on the beach and shit. But like, be real. Like, okay, you got 20K in debt and you want to have 0 credit card debt. Like, what's it going to take? Open up ChatGPT, go to Claude, whatever, and say, no, seriously, say, hey, let me just say this. Like, there's been times where I've taken my bank statements from the previous year. Like, this is practical. It's real shit. Bank statements from last year, credit card statements from last year. Okay. I gave it all to Claude. I said, hey, you're my financial advisor. What do you have to say to me? And Claude's like, okay, you're making good money, but you're spending a lot of money.
So don't live beyond your means. Something we talked about.
Don't live beyond your means. Like, really figure it out. Where's the money going? It's like there's all kinds of money management podcasts out there, and there's Dave Ramsey and all these other people, however you think, whatever you think of them. But you really got to look at it and figure out the situation. Like, what is actually happening here? And I'm like, okay, categorize it by like entertainment, this and that and whatever. And you just really see where your money goes. It's like, you spent this much money on gas, utilities, blah, 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 blah. And that's all living expenses. But then here's your entertainment and your purchases and your Amazon. You get, you're buying stuff from Amazon. You're buying stuff off of Whatnot. You're buying stuff off of eBay. Like, is any of that essential? And if it's not, like, why are you doing that? And just get an honest look at the entire scenario and figure out where you want to go and where you're at, and then just make a plan to get there.
All right. So make sure you know where your money goes. Don't spend more than you make.
Sure.
And you should be okay.
I hope so. Do you agree with that?
I mean, I agree, but I think that's a whole nother episode. We'll have to dive into it. I've never fed my financial statements into Claude, but maybe I'll do it live and we'll put it on the
We'll do it live. We'll do it live.
All right. Well, this is a great episode. I'm glad you guys tuned in. If you haven't checked out the first one, check out the first one. You'll understand some of the bad jokes we gave today. And hopefully you come back for our third episode, which we're just going to talk about recapping what we covered, what we learned from each other, and see where it goes. We appreciate you guys. Thank you.